Hello friends, family, and other creatures of the sea. We have another series from the GSL here today from Group B. If you're not looking for spoilers, this ain't the place to be. As we have in the top left spawning as our blue Zerg player playing for Team DKZ. It is dark. And in the bottom right as our red Protoss player playing for Twisted Minds, I think it is. We have Classic. Opening up with a Stargate here. Did not quite manage to get the block off on his opponent's natural. We're straight launched into a standard setup here of Protoss versus Zerg. Wouldn't mind having a little bit of, there we go, a little bit of music in the background. As we're seeing these openers just kind of develop from here on out. There's a depth shading across the map. Cancelling. Perhaps shading again. I was curious to see what these lads have in store for us. Dark, of course, a player with huge versatility. The ability to literally play anything that exists. If it exists, then Dark has played it. And even if it doesn't exist, most likely Dark has thought about it. And I'm like, nah, that ain't real. Then doesn't play it. Maybe simulates it in his head. This guy's mental. Can do whatever he wants. First Oracle shoot starts, well, now. No, it shouldn't. Okay. Fleet Beacon as the, as the first building here. I was going to say as the first unit from the Stargate, we have the Fleet Beacon. That's not quite how units work. I am largely unfamiliar with this opener. And when I say largely unfamiliar, I mean I'm completely unfamiliar with it. I've never seen this before. This is an Adept into Stalker. Stalker for denial of scouting. And this might be for Tempest. It is possible that it's for a single carrier rush. Although I find that very unlikely. This is just, no matter which way you look at it, or what it's going to be, this is just a really cool build order. Like, this is really nice. Like, I love this. I think this is brilliant. I'm a fan of this, most definitely. Does Dark have vision of these gases? Okay, so he sees one gas. This was the gas that was taken a little bit later. You see the third gas just has been mining for a tiny bit longer. Second Stargate now gets added in. We're just going to be saving up Tempest over here. And look at this. Dark right now has no clue what's going on. He's throwing down spores. He's like, well, this might be Oracle or like some Void Ray play. His Lynx patrolling everywhere. But at the same time, he's like, what if it's Glaive Adepts? That could be an issue for me as well. I almost believe that Dark is going for a Queen Walk here. Like, his build order is a Queen Walk build order. Except there's no third base. So it can't be a Queen Walk. You can't Queen Walk a 2-base toss. This is not a good situation here whatsoever for Dark. And that's the only thing I do know, because he's investing in a lot of things that aren't going to be paying off. He went up to only 5 queens rather than the standard 6. And the one thing you definitely do need is freaking queens to deal with Tempest. Tempest are a fantastic unit, but they do struggle with queens a little bit. Queens are there to buy time. As the first roaches are now being constructed. This is a... I love this. I freaking love this. This is such a cool build. And yeah, I can't believe this is what we're seeing. I'm just kind of thinking, okay, he's following up with 2 more gates. Look at this. Dark Scout is like, why the hell do you have a battery here? It's like, this battery just makes no sense. This is like you're playing against like a gold player. Oh, battery in the natural sounds good. Keeps me safe. It's like, well, sure it does, but I thought you should be building that, you know? It's a weird investment. What in... Is he just gonna 6-gate all in behind this? This is an absolutely wild build, you know that? Twilight Council. I think he'll blink all in as a follow-up. I think he's going to blink all in as a follow-up. 6 Tempest. Now, I think with 5 you're one-shotting queens, right? With 5 you're one-shotting queens. We see Dark opting for a Dropper Lord now. I don't know for who this is. Maybe he wants to dodge Tempest shots by picking up units. Look how quickly he's taking out these spores as well, huh? That's damage right there. That's damage right there. This hatch is gonna fall. If he ain't careful, this hatch is gonna fall. Tempest now being rallied back home. I don't think that's necessary here, Classic. I'd much prefer to see with some of these bad boys. Just, yeah, they all should be at the front. All 6 of them should be at the front. Definitely helping out as these spores are falling at a rapid pace here. The follow-up being just mass Stalker. And this build is legit ridiculous. So he's gonna shoot another queen down. How many queens do we still have? We have 8 queens left. Make that 7. Every shot is a queen. Every shot is a queen. Puff! That's another queen. And that's another queen. Oh, no, it's not. But there's 3 queens at once, Dark. Dark gave his opponent a massive gift there. Now we're... I mean, corruptors are being constructed. The fact of the matter here, though, is I just no clue what's gonna happen from here on out. I just don't know. He's building Ravagers, which is weird. You'd say more corruptors is more good. As if he can snipe the Spire, that'd be huge. He's like 2-volleying the Spire. God, this unit's busted. No, he misses the recall. You can't make this up. I also believe that if he would have stayed with the Tempest, if you have 6 Tempest against 6 Corruptors, I think you win that fight. I think he just would have straight up won the game. Now, there's still a lot of Stalkers remaining, and there's nothing really here for Dark. This is the sickest build that I've seen in my life. This is a one-timer, though. Like, this is 100% a one-timer. I don't think this is something... You can't repeat this success. At least... Well, maybe you can. There's just no way. It's a fake third base here. There's 3 hatcheries going down right now. It's 1 base versus 2 base mining. But because there's 63 drones, the income is actually fairly equal. This is hilarious. How is this a build? I mean, it's not a build, but it is. Proxying a gate over here. His blink is about to finish up. This is the latest hitting blink I've seen in my life, but boy, are there a lot of freaking blink stalkers over here. To get that blink in forward, and I mean, this is absolute game. This is absolute game. Biles are connecting with every single unit that exists, but it won't matter. Single G here out of Dark. As Classic wins an unlikely game number 1 here on Side Delta. And it's these types of builds, I think, that Classic kind of got known for. It's just doing weird things in high stakes situations and weird things that work. Look, there's a difference between players that do weird things because it's fun to be weird, and then Classic does weird things because they're effective, not because they're odd. Like he looks for what could work. He isn't looking for necessarily something that is off in the head. Ooh, what is this? Where's this guy going, huh? What in the ever-living crap is happening here? This is the latest hatch first that I've seen in my entire miserable life. It's gonna send this in. This is a really late hatch first. It's gonna get the block off here. Interesting opener. Like, no matter what you think about it, this was a late hatch, okay? Fact. That's a fact. Okay, that's a non-negotiable fact. Pool's gonna go down. Now, generally, this is a good situation for Zerg. If you get the block off with a second hatch, theory dictates that that's an okay situation for Zerg. You should pull 3, 4. I think perfectly you want to have 4 or 5 workers, if I'm not mistaken, with 1 zealot here to fight this thing. I didn't know 3 workers was also a viable setup. I thought that you killed the hatch too late in that case, which is quite awkward. So you want this adept to start, and then you want the nexus to start. Right now you see some money flotation. So this is actually a slightly incorrect response here. If he wanted to play like this, he should have taken a faster second gas, because now you're just floating money for no reason. Yeah, there's a significant flotation here. That's why 4 or 5 work is actually a little bit better, because you get a quicker nexus with that, while not really delaying much else. And quicker nexus is actually a huge benefit here, because right now you're going to get oversaturation in your main, and you have slower worker production because you don't have the nexus. So economically better to pull 1 more worker, despite initially getting a small cut there in your eco. It's important to note these little things that happen, and there's reasons as to why it's 4. I think it's 5 workers actually, if I remember correctly. Usually what I do is I keep all of these responses of builds that don't get played a whole lot. I kind of keep them in a document, and then before I have a big tournament, I just kind of read through them once. You know, it's like, okay, how did I imagine I play against X, or imagine I play against Y? What, according to my large fat document, is the correct response to that? And then I think it says 5 workers. 5 workers and a zealot, I think, is a very reasonable response to that. And that's what my gut tells me as well. We have 2 adepts that are shading out. Gonna get a kill here on the Ling. Speed a little bit away. Glaive adept starts. A worker being pulled out of gas here. Not too many being pulled out of gas, just a single worker. As the follow-up is going to be a 3 or 4 gate glaive adept attack. Curious to see how this is going to work out for Classic. As a Protoss player, I'm really a big fan of glaive adept attacks. I think they're underutilized in the current meta. But at the same time, I also understand their weakness. And their weakness is Zerg players that have a clue what they're doing. This build is extremely good if it doesn't get played. It becomes so powerful when no one has played it for a while and then someone pulls it out, like, oh, right. Zergs don't entirely know the correct response anymore because they haven't practiced this scenario in a while. You could say, well, why don't they practice this? Like, well, even if they practice it once or twice, you need like 10, 12, 13 games in order to have your correct response down completely again. So, and there's just not many people that play glaives right now. And every glaive build is different as well and requires a quite specific response. And here we see a 3-gas response coming out of Dark. This feels to me like he wants to go for a counter-attack almost afterwards. They said, hey, I want to hold this with high roach counts, low Ling counts, and then go for a roach Ravager counter-attack. I wonder if that analysis of the situation is correct. The way that Dark used to hold these builds is by playing a double gas opener and then getting a lot of Lings and 3 Ravagers out. Surround with the Lings, throw down the Biles. That used to be his plan. But right now, he's just going for a heavy roach count. Low Lings, heavy roach. So really a different type of approach with a quick lair as well. And the quick lair really does kind of indicate the willingness to counter-attack here. The lair for an Overseer in case there's a DT follow-up. So it's an interesting setup that we're working with here. This shade is going to finish up. There's really nothing defensively, or at least not in the big enough numbers yet to deal with this. And thus we get a full drone pullback. This should finish probably. Take out 3-4 workers. Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. It isn't a whole lot, but it's still 4 or 5 workers. That's better than nothing. We have the Prism in the main as a secondary threat. That is huge. This base under some significant fire as well. That is also quite big. And now I'm starting to wonder as to like what is kicking off over here. He's trading with roaches. That's interesting. There are adepts in this. There's a spore in the main that makes this Prism maneuvering a little bit harder. Prism will stay alive, but takes some damage. Adept Shade once again finished up. This is costing Dark a lot of money just in resources lost. These hatcheries are taking a beating, and I think this should be the last Shade, and it should run away right now. I don't think we should see another Shade in necessarily. You can maybe... nah. It seems unlikely to me. There's so many roaches nearby, yeah. Good moves here. A Classic, honestly, phenomenal movement. Not necessarily in a great position, because Dark had a pretty rough counter, like a good counter. He scouted everything, and he countered accordingly. He's indeed morphing some Ravagers, getting an Overseer now. Not going for a counterattack, which is really what I would have expected. Meanwhile, behind all of this, Classic, look at this. What do we see in the natural over here, ladies and gentlemen? Well, what are we not seeing? We're not seeing assimilators here on these Vespene geysers. That's what we're not seeing, and that is very interesting because that indicates a follow-up attack with a very high adept count. Maybe even some Zealot. Yeah, we see 1 Zealot in here. Because you're not going to be mining any gas, so it's just enough for immortal production and for an occasional warp in. Oh my god, this is a huge move. Except the Overseer comes in. I love this gas. This is saying, hey, I'm playing a macro game gas. This is a macro game gas, alright? Saying, hey, I'm taking my 5th gas already. You sure you don't want to drone up a little bit harder against that? Meanwhile, 2 adepts here shading in, getting a bunch of kills. 7 kills at once. If this Overseer doesn't go to the natural, that would be huge. That would be freaking huge. Look at this. Dark is buying it. He's slurping this up. The soup that Classic is serving right now with the poison in it. All going to Dark's tummy right now. Oh, he's loving it. Man, I love soup. Hasn't quite scouted the lack here yet. I don't think so. Not the lack of gas. Sees this one guy. It's like, oh, he's on 5 gas. He's now starting to build a Roach Ravager anyway because he saw that move. I was like, wait a second, where's your army? This is odd. This is real odd. But half of the soup is already gone. And I think it might be too late. That's not a shade you want to finish. Yeah. Prism moving back a little bit. Guardian Shield gets activated. Here we're gonna see a warp in, I hope. Prism flies a bit far forward. Needs to be careful with that. That's his only method of reinforcing. What in the world is he doing? Loses the Prism. still should be okay. 3 Immortals are a significant backbone for this army. Look at that. Pushing through over here. Glaive Adepts could finish up, or at least 2 of them could finish up. Deal some significant damage. We have a lot of damage here on the Evo Chamber, which is quite odd as well. Walks into a bile there. As drones now being pulled. And I think that Dark is eventually going to hold due to the lack of reinforcement. But what damage can Classic deal? That is the real important one here. How much damage can he deal? And 6 workers, I'm not sure if that is enough. He's gonna take a couple of more out here. Actually, he's gonna take none out, so that's not a couple more at all. Prism now is on the map again. Honestly, if that Prism doesn't die in a silly position, I think Classic picks up the win there. Like, he has instant reinforcements. Now he was transitioning behind this out of necessity. He was like, well, I can't reinforce anymore, so might as well do this. The Prism on the map forces maybe something back. I actually think the Prism should move across the map. This sounds stupid, but the only way to hold this is by counter-attacking. I don't think you can hold this counter by defending. Like, you just need to deal a lot of damage. Like, these 3-4 Adepts are not going to help too much here. They could have killed a lot of workers on the other side of the map. As now Ravager's links are in here. This is such a sad way to go here for Classic. An absolutely unlosable position, and he throws it out of the window in some fairly mediocre play. Well, just really one massive error in losing that Prism. You can't afford to lose your Prism in these scenarios, and he is aware of that. It's not like this is new information, has recently been discovered by a team of scientists from Canada. I was like, no, we've known that when you're doing an all-in, and the only form of reinforcement is the Prism, it's pretty darn important to keep that alive. And right now, well, the chances of survival are fairly low here for Classic. Ravager still going strong, hitting every single warp in as well. So vigilant and making sure that no Adepts really get warped in. More roaches in production. Link stream in towards the natural as this high ground's gonna, well, it's gonna be infiltrated soon as well. And that is going to be it for game number 2. Classic had the 2-0 in his hands, but fumbled it. He fumbled it. An absolute fumble over here as the poop on the Robo disappears. His Immortals trying his best, but 40 supply to 116. Classic thinking about the sins he committed in this game. Dark just transitioning behind this, but he doesn't need to. I mean, he can do what he wants. He could build Mutas from here. He could mass infest there. He can then Nidus Lurker build. Like, he could do whatever. He's so far up right now, it's impossible to lose. I'm pretty sure that I would be capable of winning at this point, and my Zerg is absolutely god-awful. So yeah, I'd feel comfortable here in this situation with 74 army supply to 18. I'm surprised Classic is staying in. This is something we've seen quite a bit in the GSL. Cure did it the other day as well, just staying in for an extraordinary amount of time. Still have like a half an army just kind of idling over here. Not sure if Dark forgot about this or what's kicking off over there. I have no clue why Classic is in the game. He's down 100 supply right now. He's in a real bad spot. He's down bad, as the kids would say. GG gets called. Dark ties it up here in his best of 3. Dark bought himself game number 3 here with some solid defensive play. Although, I'm not... This is the thing with Dark, though, is that Dark has too many of these games for it to be a coincidence. Where it's like, okay, Dark is... He's dead. Like, there's no other Zerg that would hold there. And it shouldn't be possible. Yeah, Dark... He holds without any serious issue. It's so impressive. He's a very impressive player, one of a kind, truly, when it comes to the Zergs. There's no one that does it quite like him. Like, just terrible openers often. Just things go absolutely garbage for the first 8-9 minutes. He's down like 20 supply while messing roaches. He just sits there and it's like, all right, time to play. And he starts playing and he starts making moves and it just works and people start falling apart. It's just it's the unit movement, it's the speed, it's the micro. It's just a combination of everything, really, where he shines the most. Like, I still believe that if Dark were to get a serious coach, it's like someone that is actually very good with Zerg, to just kind of work on the build orders, I think Dark would be the scariest player in the world. Like, I actually do believe so. Like, his ability to win fights, his ability to move with units is so freaking good. And it's often in the first 6-7 minutes that things go horribly wrong for Dark. Now, don't get me wrong, he also wins a lot of games in those first 6 minutes because he tends to take some rather wild risks. But yeah, his consistency sometimes is, yeah, it doesn't feel as powerful in the early game. Like, it's crazy. It's really, really crazy to me. Yeah, he's so good. Mechanically, everything. Map vision. Just impressive human being all around. He's gonna lose a drone here for free. This is what I mean. It's like, it's like this really shouldn't be happening. Like, this is not a time. Like, I don't know, guys. It shouldn't be happening in my mind, at least. We have a Phoenix out looking for an Overlord. Overlord is not gonna get spotted. Oh, well, actually, both of them are gonna get spotted now. Look at that. Classic here, taking down 2 Ovies. That's a big deal. A fairly big deal indeed. That's the second Oracle stars as well. So it's going to be Phoenix into Oracle. Classic has been kind of fond of these 4 Stargate units into Robo pushes. Classic is a timing-based player, generally. Generally a timing-based player. And he's been very fond of going for these just lots of Stargate units, like dealing a lot of damage, and then while the opponent is back droning up, saying, okay, now it's time for me to hit. Now it's time for me to deal some damage. Doesn't seem to be the case this time, as we have a Forge going down here in the wall, which in and by itself is already quite rare. Dark is doing a good job defending so far. Has the Spore in the main base, has a Spore in the third as well. What do we have in the natural? Not a whole lot right now, not a whole lot. Twilight Council on the way, but that's Forge first. We see 2 more gates going down as well. Maybe even more. This is a significant investment here into gateways. Significant investment into gateways. As 4 get thrown down. 2 workers have fallen so far. Dark out of position. Loses 3 drones. Loses 4 drones. Was the queen count 5 again? 6. Okay, this time the queen count is 6. Oracle's tanking a little bit of damage. Phoenix is just kind of flying around. It's not really being used as a harassment tool, but more as a scouting unit here. Sees the lair timing. Sees no fort base. And what, 4 or 5 gas? Hey, this is a high gas count that is going down here. This smells all-in-y. Pneumatized carapace is well on the way. The lack of a fort base is fairly obvious here 5 minutes into the game. You get a revelation on a rock. It's usually not quite where you want to revelate. Double Overlords on the way. So we have a bit of a taxi build here. 6 queens will make their way across the map. 5 gases. Double robos on the way, but this second robo is a mistake. Immortal needs to start instantly, but for some reason, Classic seems to be unaware of the... Maybe he believes there's a fort on the left side, but he hasn't confirmed that yet. Sees Pneumatized Carapace now. That is such a telltale sign as to what is coming for you. Has no static D though. Throws down 1 cannon. Needs to start Immortals here. Second Forge. Robo Bay. Oh no. Classic. He's getting completely bamboozled here. Truly by himself. Just had a build in mind, and no matter what he saw, he just was going to stick to it. That could definitely be a mistake, as he's lost both of his Oracles right now. Stalkers are being warped in. Sentry count is decent. So he gets a couple of nice force fields, locks out a bunch of these bad boys. Cannon now under heavy fire. Super battery gets activated. Classic's doing a phenomenal job defending with the lack of stuff that he has. Now, there are 6 gateways that can warp in things. If Classic manages to hold this would be an impressive feat. I don't think this should be viable or possible or anything. He should be dead. Okay, we have another sentry being warped in here. We get a queen drop on top of the Stalkers. How far away are we from another super battery? A freaking long time away. A far, far, far away from that super battery. I don't think we're going to see that in this fight. Disruptor goes out. It's trying to make its way towards this little battle right now. Dark floating in an astronomical amount of cash as well. Floating a little over 2k resources. Imagine if that wasn't the case. Would have been a lot of units in here. As Classic still trying to micro, is very close in worker count to his opponent, has +1, has superior tech, has insane infrastructure behind all of this. If Classic manages to stabilize at any point, really just at any point, I think he's going to be in quite a good spot here. As Purification Nova gets thrown out, we'll take out this Queen. There's 2 Ravagers that are fairly low, not being targeted down. We have a Queen drop in the natural right now. As Classic, I think, should be almost capable of hanging on. There's a battery in the back as well. And now the super battery is back online. Could be used. Can definitely be used. Couple more probes going down. Queen's in the natural now starting to spread creep. Dark is definitely feeling it over here. There is an observer out as these Overlords should get blasted as well. There's still 2 Queens in here. Blink under it. Can we get it? Can we? Yes, we can. We definitely should be capable of getting that, I think. As 2 more Zealots get warped in as well. This creep is going to get cleaned up. We have 53 workers to 51. There are double forges, double robos. And despite Classic's severe underreaction to this threat, he managed to hold. And of course, a big portion of that is going to be, well, honestly, the extremely inefficient build that Dark played here. He's been saving 1k gas. The 5 gases is a bit of overkill. Usually you see 3 gases. In rare cases, maybe 4. 5 gas is really quite a bit. Like, he's been spending a lot of it, still floating an insane amount, and it just made this build inefficient. He lacked injects as well, didn't build Queens behind it, was floating an insane amount of cash during the entirety of that push, and that really is the reason why Classic has managed to stay alive and now get up to such a comfortable little position. We have a Baneling nest going down. This is the last structure that I expected. This is the last structure that I had expected to go down at this point. Now, I can explain that, and if your Baneling upgrades are behind the Protoss upgrades, I think in the current patch, as is, Banelings are not very useful to have. I don't think they're very useful to have, and if Classic is aware of this 4th on the left side, well, I guess it's a 5th, that would be nice to maybe mount an attack there later. I wouldn't mind if he moves on the map with just Stalker at this point. Says, hey, I'm going to move on the map with my Stalkers, with my Observer, clear a little bit of creep. Because he's setting up for a push, all right? He's setting up for a push. And it's a massive push. It's going to be a 2-1 timing with Thermal Lens, hopefully. It's going to be fighting a 1-1 army force. That probably is going to have Vipers, because let's face it, with 1200 gas in the bank, there's definitely some cash left over for those Viperinos, which should be produced. But there's also 5 Disruptors already. Hey, that is serious damage. Not quite catching these Banes yet. There we go. It's going to see them now. We have a Bane drop that's going to commence here. 4 Links and an Overlord on the way. Like, I know what that is. I've seen the signs, my friend. I'm not a meteorologist, but I know it's going to rain Banes pretty soon. Double Colossus added in. This is a powerful freaking army, huh? This is a powerful army here, lads. Would like to see these gases being taken and maybe even start +3. This is where I think we see the intention of Classic here. Like, Classic intention will become very clear in the next few seconds. If he doesn't get these upgrades on 2 forges, this is an all-in, okay? This is absolutely an all-in. Here comes a Ling run by with +1. No Adrenal quite yet. I'll lose a bunch of probes. Needs some type of static if he wants to keep this fort base alive. Needs to get some type of static. If he doesn't get the static, he could be in trouble. Baneling drops. Where are you going, sir? Going in towards the main. We have 3 volleys necessary. Oh, I think he missed 1 shot there. I thought 3 volleys would be enough there with +2 Stalkers. Maybe it's 4. I really thought it was 3 though. My bad. My bad. Mental note there. For me, definitely was 3. Okay, well, gonna have to check that after. We have Burrow on the way. Hydra then. We have more drops coming in as well. What's the Ravager count here? 12. 3 Vipers. No Templar Archives. 60 workers. Like, the intention of Classic is also clear. He's gonna move out now though, and I'm not entirely sure how he believes that this is going to be better than last time, because he once again will be summoned back home here by this counterattack now. Yeah, this is not going great. I feel like he's being delayed way too long here, and almost so long that his upgrade lead is disappearing. There's 40 more seconds on this upgrade lead. Once again, he's gonna move out, but guess what? This Ling Bane army is gonna bounce back. We have another base trade now being set up. Classic has no vision on that left side army. Dark does know where his opponent is, and this is Dark's thing. It's his unit movement that often gets him a W, and Classic already was planning on actually transitioning right now with the 3-2 upgrades and the Templar Archives. Classic needs to go for the base trade, takes out one base, now decides to go back home. Maybe that's the only correct call here, actually, because I think he would lose his bases too fast, but this is also a bad call, because what can you really do realistically? What's going to happen here? Well, realistically, you're going to lose the game. That's what's going to happen, because you're losing a lot of buildings. You lost, what, 3, 4... You lost every single base at this point. If these Lynx could still unburrow and kill everything here if they wanted to, but Dark doesn't feel like it's needed right now. So I can actually let the guy mine for a little bit. Give him some cash. I think, yeah, we're going to have Lurkers on the way. And Lurker plus Viper, the moment Seismic Spines finishes up, I think that's a party that if Classic shows up, he's going to get his head hammered in. Like, bang, bang. Dark's silver hammer struck right on Classic's head. There's not much what you can do about that. Like, this is still a powerful force, don't get me wrong, but it's a force that requires time to push through, because you need to use the disruptors to break. You can't use the disruptors to break because there's Vipers here. You see 3, 4 disruptors being pulled in. This disruptor gets a shot off. 3 Ravagers at once. Good little rotation here, but I mean, it's going to be a hard fight. It's going to be a very, very difficult fight here. The Vipers are once again regaining their energy. Once they get that energy, Colossus are going to be toast as well. Lurker count is what, 11, 12? 11, with more Hydras on the way. And the rest of the army just being sent down to counterattack. And that means that there's just a massive time pressure here. There's massive, massive time pressure on Classic to do something. And I don't think it's entirely viable for him to do anything here. I mean, he also can't wait, so there's no right choices here. He kind of messed this up. He kind of won't. Well, that blink was definitely not it. Gonna lose a bunch of Stalkers as the Lurkers retreat to Spore safety. Had Dark targeted the Observer down. Oh, he does target it down. Now there's no vision left for any potential Lurkers. There are still 3 Lurkers on the map, so in the end this army is not gonna cut it. Not in the base rate probably either. Look at that. There's just so many units here already. I think Dark's just gonna fight this. GG gets called as Dark wins this series. Coming back from the death in game 2, and honestly, to a certain extent also in game number 3. Phenomenal gameplay out of the Korean Zerg player. As Classic is going to be a little bit upset with himself there. And that, my dear friends, is going to be it for me today. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you did enjoy this game. Hope you did enjoy this series. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see all of you next time for a new video. Bye-bye.